Before we get into the video, here's the question that I want y'all to answer in the comments. What is the American dream? I've asked many times on the channel whether or not we need to start having a conversation about redefining the American dream for modern times. So we're about to get into it. Make sure y'all watch the full video.
At the national level, the middle class is typically defined as households with an annual income ranging between $53,740 and $161,220.
Right.
But middle-class Americans like Kyle Connolly from Pensacola, Florida, says life has quickly grown unaffordable.
Financially, things have definitely been a struggle for me. I don't know how, but every single month I somehow managed to get by. And I'm left with, maybe this past month, I was left with $125 in my checking account, and that's it.
Okay, she's in Pensacola, Florida. Real quick, I just want you guys to keep in mind, when you're thinking about this American dream question, keep in mind, location is probably the single largest factor in a person's personal finances.
As of June 2024, 65% of middle-class Americans said they were struggling financially and don't expect their situation to improve for the rest of their lives.
For the rest of their lives? For the rest of their lives, that's kind of extreme. That's kind of crazy. But like I said, like I was just saying, location is probably the biggest factor in a person's personal finances. We just did a video last week about a guy that put in like 2,000 job applications, said he wasn't having any luck. You know, he was applying for just basic like warehouse jobs and he couldn't get anything. Somebody in the comments of that video, I thank you for mentioning this. I don't remember exactly who it was, but somebody in the comments of that video did mention where he's at. His location is probably a huge factor, because where I'm at here in Houston, Texas, we typically don't experience things like that. You know, FedEx is always hiring. The Amazon warehouse is always hiring. And $100,000 a year will go pretty far. It goes way further here than it does in Florida, in Pensacola, Florida, where this lady is at. So it really depends. But I do think that, you know, to some degree, like I say in a lot of videos, we do have to take some form of personal accountability. I think that people should be willing to move to areas where the cost of living is a little bit lower. Do anything you can, anything in your power to improve your financial situation, not, you know, encouraging ourselves to live in a victim mentality, just sitting around where you are complaining in the comments of this video or in any video about the cost of living. That's not productive. That's not getting us any results. We need to be actively out here taking the steps, taking whatever steps necessary to work towards our financial goals and our own financial future, taking it in our own hands as much as we possibly can.
Part of the income distribution that has felt a lot of pain in the wake of the pandemic. And it wasn't something that just economists were tracking. It was something that was really felt on the household level. You know, people felt it in their grocery bills. People felt it at the gas pump.
In their own neighborhoods and in their own lives, they have their own expectations for what they can do, where they can go, where they can eat, where they can live. And to the degree that they're facing those pressures on an individual basis, it really is causing quite a bit of an alarm.
75% of middle-income families say they are actively cutting back on non-essential expenses.
So 75% of families are at least trying. That's respectable.
With 73% finding it difficult to save for the future.
I have had to.
And again, like, we really have to take this on an individual basis. We really have to, there's so many different factors we have to take into account. The average combined household income in the United States of America is right around $80,000, give or take a couple of thousand, exactly where you're looking at it on the internet, exactly what study or source you may be getting that information from. But at least on a basic level, right, we have to ensure that we're doing everything we possibly can, everything in our power to ensure we're not spending unnecessary money. Get rid of the overpriced car. Don't get out here trying to buy more house than you can actually afford. Don't finance stupid stuff on Afterpay. Don't finance furniture. Don't finance, you know, whatever new accessory you bought off of Amazon. Pay for everything in full. Don't overuse your credit cards. If you're going to get a credit card, I said a couple of videos ago, get a secured credit card. Keep it simple. Buy gas, buy groceries. I recommend people to pay them off at the end of the week. That way you won't even really have to worry about it come the end of the month. But like I said, we have to master the basics, like almost on some like Mr. Miyagi stuff, bro. Like, you have to master the most basic financial principles, and those are the things that will help you kind of go to the next level.
reduce all non-essential spending. I have gotten one haircut because it just got out of control, and that's it. That's all that I can afford.
We can do so much better. To all of you watching, we can get back to an America that's affordable again.
There's a strong role for policy in affecting the prices of all these essential goods, from housing to childcare to healthcare expenses.
I think there's
Just because it's on my mind before I, forget to say something, drop in the comments below. Do you think that what JD Vance just said is legit? Do you think that the Trump administration will actually help us get back to an affordable America? You may feel about Trump and Republicans however you feel. We're not talking about that right now. We're strictly talking about the money. We're strictly talking about it from a financial standpoint. Do you think the Trump administration will help us? Let me know in the comments below.
a lot of scope to have government programs that help the middle class quite a bit more.
So how has the middle class life become so unaffordable for Americans?
Housing is always going to be typically the biggest
Right.
bite of a household's budget. I think that's probably a primary issue in terms of why people are feeling that crunch.
I am currently renting, and I would say that the housing is probably about 65% of my monthly expenses, where it should be the other way around. It should.
That's insane, especially considering if you're gonna rent. Typically, I mean, y'all know they want you to make 3 times the rent. Or if you're trying to get a loan to buy a home, typically debt to income ratio is a pretty big part of that process. I haven't bought a home, so I don't know exactly how the process goes, but nevertheless, 65% of your income per month going to housing is absolutely insane.
Be 33%.
The median rent for middle-income families has risen by 18% to $1,300 per household between 2001 and 2022.
You've just
Let me know, based off of where you're located, is this accurate for your area? Now, I actually did a video not that long ago talking about how rent prices were insanely high. And there was a guy that said, I believe from like 1995 to 2001, I'm kind of guessing on those years, but he said it was a period of 6 years where his rent went from like $500 a month to $1,300 a month. Let me know, have you guys been seeing rent increases in your area? Have you tried to renew a lease where you were staying and, the landlord tried to hike up the rent on you? Let me know in the comments below.
in this intense upward pressure on the cost of rent, and that filters through to the cost of buying a house.
Existing home prices hit a record in June 2024, with existing homes selling at a median price of $426,900. According to the most recent analysis, U.S. is facing a shortage of 4.5 million homes. In 2022, families in the U.S. increased by 1.8 million.
So we're looking at a housing deficit, but nobody can afford housing because the majority of people are probably like the lady or a little bit earlier in the video, where 65% of their income, of their monthly income, is going towards housing. Kind of crazy. It's getting kind of wild out here. I don't know.
But only 1.4 million housing units were built to meet the demand.
We've got lots of families who are trying to form, people leave college, they leave their parents' house, they want to buy their own house, and we just haven't seen housing construction.
If you don't build more housing, then housing becomes more expensive. And that's exactly what's happening in a lot of coastal cities and increasingly more and more cities across the United States.
But is it a matter of supply and demand, or do we just need more affordable housing options? Like, I understand what he's saying, but you can't build several $800,000 houses and expect the price of all housing to come down. Like, that's not really how it works. We just need more affordable housing options, in my opinion. I actually did a video a couple of weeks ago talking about how in certain communities, I believe the one that I covered was in Rhode Island, there's a mall, like an abandoned shopping mall, that they're actually converting into affordable housing for the community. Let me know if y'all would take advantage of an opportunity like that if it presented itself to you. I know I definitely would.
Becomes very unaffordable to buy a house.
What it amounts to are state and local policies that have really operated over the course of several decades to restrict housing supply.
It's the old story that people in single-family homes in desirable neighborhoods really push back against efforts to build more housing in those neighborhoods. They complain about the parking. They complain about pressure on infrastructure.
Experts say policy intervention is essential to tackling the affordability crisis.
There's an opportunity today to rethink how the federal government interacts with housing markets, We already see this in markets like healthcare in the United States. It's not a purely privatized market. There is a
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and cut it right there. I definitely do agree with him. I do believe that we need to start rethinking housing. I think that we need to start rethinking the American dream as a whole. But let me know what you guys think about this in the comments down below. You know, I do my best to respond to every single comment that's dropped here on the channel because I do genuinely want to have a real conversation with you guys about these topics.